All right. Oh my goodness. We're here. I got We're at the Whitney Plantation. This is part number 3. The plantation store is right here. We're gonna go over there in a second. This is just, it's beautiful, but it's a damn shame at the same time.
This structure was built in 1868 after slavery was abolished. It was brought here from Gonzales, Louisiana, and is not something you'd normally find on a plantation. But it is similar to the slave pens used by auction houses to confine people who were about to be sold to the highest bidder. There were 22 slave cabins at Whitney Plantation, 2 for the domestics near the big house, and 20 more in 2 rows facing each other. Today, there are 7 slave dwellings on the plantation. 2 are original. The others are from a plantation in Terrebonne Parish, about 50 miles south of here. Take a look at the walls and ceiling. There's not much insulation, so it was cold in the winter and hot in the summer. The front room served as a kitchen, dining room, living room, and bedroom. Enslaved workers shared beds or sometimes slept on pallets on the floor. In the limited time they had outside of working hours, enslaved people shared this space with their families if their families were intact. But many enslaved people lost their children, spouses, siblings, and parents to death or the slave trader.
Early in the morning before the break of day, the slave drivers went around knocking on those doors. They ring a bell or they blow a horn and go around knocking on the doors, wake up, it's time to go to work. The enslaved people, the field hands, usually worked from can't see to can't see, from cannot see to cannot see. That means from sun up to sundown.
An American blues singer named Pleasant Joseph, or Cousin Joe, was born on Whitney Plantation in 1908. He was at least the 3rd generation of his family that lived here. his grandparents had been enslaved here. In the years after emancipation, the plantation operated as a wage labor business. Pleasant Joseph worked these fields as a child and described a typical workday in an interview with friends of the Cabildo.
I don't care how long the day was, you just go about an hour. Go by sunrise and sunset. First of all, my aunt used to wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 in the morning.
She got you kids up at 3?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she used to have them little tin bucket. She used to fix her lunch in it. A little tin bucket. And then she'd make this the shortening bread.
Yes.
She'd make that shortening bread. And she'd put a piece of fat back, what they call it.
Yeah.
By 6 o'clock, they done got all of us out there that's supposed to start working. And then we'd all get on a line. The sun would just be peeping over the horizon. You know? And honey, you talking cold. Cold forth. And out there, as soon as you old enough to walk, they got you out in that field working.
According to law in Louisiana, childhood ended at age 10. When you reach the age of 10, they can put you to the plow and even sell you away from your mother, your father.
These are slave quarters. It's a shame. Mm-hmm. I got you. Maya, turn around. Turn around.
You know what? This would be a.
Yeah, we at this slave house. These are the slave quarters. It's just a shame. It really is. We on the Whitney Plantation.
The memorial you're looking at depicts the heroes of the German Coast Uprising, the largest and most sophisticated slave revolt in United States history. Federal troops and the state militia overpowered what grew into an army of enslaved people. Best estimates tell us that at its zenith, the rebellion included between 200 and 500 people. A tribunal tried and convicted the rebel leaders, decapitated them, and displayed the heads on pikes along the river road. That's how the uprising ended. Let's go back to how it began. In 1811, Charles DeLand was a slave driver at the Woodland Plantation, about 13 miles downriver from here on the east bank of the river. The region was called the German Coast after the German immigrants who arrived here in 1721. Although enslaved themselves, slave drivers held relatively powerful positions and, like domestics, were part of an underground information network relaying news and messages.
Enslaved domestic have their ears open, listening to whatever the master talked about, and that information also was conveyed to the field hands. But the most important relay of information were the Maroons, who moved at night from plantation to plantation.
DeLand organized a band of rebels, and on January 8, 1811, led them down the river road from plantation to plantation, with the intent of killing owners and freeing people enslaved there. The rebels were armed with machetes, axes, hoes, clubs, and a few firearms. Manuel Andre, who owned the plantation where DeLand had been a slave driver, was attacked with an axe but survived. DeLand and his men killed Andre's son. Word of the uprising reached the governor of the territory of New Orleans, who roused 2 militias. The rebels marched on, burning plantations and recruiting members along the way. After 2 days, the rebels were overpowered by the well-armed militia. It's estimated that at least 40 enslaved people were killed in action or missing after the battle. 65 more were executed after trials in New Orleans and Destrehan.
Most of them were condemned to death, then transported back to the plantation where they belonged, executed in front of everybody, men, women, and children. They were decapitated, and the heads were posted on poles.
Artwork on Whitney Plantation is more than decorative. It's a way to shed a different kind of light on how slavery impacted the people who lived, worked, and died here. Woodrow Nash, who created the sculptures in the German Coast Uprising Memorial you just left, also created the statues of children you'll find in the church and various other places around Whitney Plantation. A New Mexico artist named Ken Smith created 2 massive sculptures you're about to see next to the Field of Angels. The upraised hands represent emancipation. The large disc depicts the Middle Passage. This memorial is dedicated to the enslaved children who died in St. John the Baptist Parish between 1823 and 1863. You'll find the name of each child, the date of death, and the mother's name. The names were compiled from baptism records.
2,200 children died in this parish alone, and those were just official deaths recorded by the Catholic Church.
39 of those children died right here at Whitney Plantation.
The inventory in 1860 on this plantation tells us a lot about the lives of children and their mothers. Children born in a condition of slavery, as the condition followed the mother's line, would live there in Louisiana with their mothers until they were the age of 10, at which point they could be put out into the fields or they could be sold away. The other way that childhood was stolen from these children is that many women on this plantation had their first children when they were just children themselves, at the ages of 13 or 14. And so there's many ways that enslaved children were not allowed to just be children.
We have always to remember it's also about the broken dreams. All the children of the world are dreamers, and you grow up to fulfill your dreams through education and hard work. But for enslaved children, there was no education. They were denied education, and they were just taught to become beasts of burden. And very early in their life, they had to drop those dreams, unlike the children of the masters. Remember that during this visit, these children will be talking to you all over the memorial you will see today.
From the placard in front of the statue,
We're in the church.
Wow,